We're always so busy in December. It was a little bit tempting to just not do a bulletin this month, but there are so many good books coming out. How could I not? This is the Christian Fantasy and Science Fiction Bulletin for December 2019, bringing you the latest news and releases of works of sci-fi and fantasy created by Christians. I'm Adam David Collings. Ronnie Kendig has released her first space opera novel, Brand of Light, Book 1 in the Doceran saga. There's a price on her head, and it has everything to do with the brand on her arm. Tertian Space Coalition has blessed every planet in the quadrants with high technology, save one, Docero. But in spite of their tenuous treaty with the ruling clans, TSC has plans for the backward planet, and they're not alone. After a catastrophic explosion, Kursei Dragumi awakes in a derelict shuttle, alone, injured, and ignorant of the forbidden technology that has swept her into a nightmare. The brand she's borne since childhood burns mysteriously, but the pain is nothing to that when she learns her family is dead and she is accused of their murders. Across the quadrants, Marco Dusan responds to the call of a holy order, not to join them, but to seek a bounty. Gifted, or cursed, with abilities that mark him a Kinigos, a tracker sworn to bring interplanetary fugitives to justice, Marco discovers this particular bounty has nothing to do with justice and everything to do with prophecy, one that involves the hunter as much as the hunted. A. Walker Scott has released Cigar's Tale, a science fiction Christmas story. An alien merchant discovers a strange purpose in his life in this short tale. And I do believe that this book is available for a limited time, so it'll be worth grabbing while it's out. Rachel Lulich has released Random Walk, Book 1 in the Fractures Galaxy series. The story of 3 US Air Force Space Command astronauts. Colonel Derek Williams, a mild-mannered, experienced space traveller. Captain Jacob Mendez, the ship's playful navigator, and civilian Vicky Abrams, an introverted accelerator physicist and the newest member of the crew. Together, the diverse crew sets out on the Air Force's first manned space mission, heading for Mars, to test a new propulsion system developed in cooperation with NASA that will significantly shorten the trip to the Red Planet. When the spacecraft is unexpectedly flung out of our solar system, the crew has to set aside their differences and work together to survive without help from ground control. While their colleagues on Earth scramble to figure out what happened to them, Derek, Jacob, and Vicky must find solutions that don't exist to a situation that shouldn't be possible. Stephen Sandy has released Unbound, the Radiance Trilogy, Book 1. For 1,000 years, the Edenian Empire has stood as a bastion of peace in the world of Luoma, protected by heroes known as the Knights of Radiance. Yet now a forgotten evil stirs in the eastern reaches of the frontier, setting the world ablaze. Unbound, the name given to creatures of legend, monstrosities capable of levelling cities and obliterating entire armies. No one has seen an Unbound for centuries, and few believe that they ever really existed until now. Callum is a young scholar in possession of an ancient journal that may be the Empire's best hope against the Unbound, but a series of troubling choices call his credibility into question. All the while, another sinister force lurks in the shadows, manipulating events to further its own dark ambitions. What was is no more. What remains is unbound. Daniel Gibbs and Gary T. Stevens have released Breach of Peace, Book 1 in the Breach of Faith. Captain James Henry is caught between a rock and a hard place, again. Merchant ships operating in neutral space near the Terran Coalition and the League of Sol are disappearing without a trace. The latest report has something the others didn't: a survivor. When news reaches the planet Lustinia during a cargo offload, Captain Henry and the Shadow Wolf's crew are hired to extract the surviving operative before she's silenced and the information she has is lost. But too many opposing forces are at work within the faction Torn Republic, and they all want a piece of the prize. With directives from multiple government contacts, Captain Henry concedes to protect his ragtag crew. Years ago, he surrendered to dishonor and dismissal from the Coalition forces in order to protect his fellow officers. This time, he knows how to play the game. To save his band of brothers and sisters, Jim must walk the fine line between the operative's survival and the threats against his crew from the League of Sol, before the time to negotiate runs out. Steve Raza has released the first 2 books in his Mercury Hail series, Mercury on Guard, and Mercury for Hire. Mercury Hale is not a hero, not in his mind. He's happy spending his late nights slicing his way through monstrous astral fiends, using a weapon imbued with a mysterious power at the behest of the secretive Procyon Foundation. It's a strange way to earn a paycheck, but hey, he's good at it. The problem is, things are getting worse. More attacks, more public exposure, none of which Procyon wants. When he tries to get to the bottom of the mess, Mercury is confronted by a tightly guarded secret about Procyon, its true purpose, and what that means for the fate of the world. Worse, Mercury is not who he thinks he is, and he's not alone. Alicia Walkerden has released her debut novel, The Stringless. In a world where people are controlled by strings, a young woman named Seri struggles against the bidding of her strings and her own desires. With the help of a mysterious friend, Tristan, Seri learns how to live a life without her strings. Her journey to freedom is mixed with turmoil and new experiences. Only when Seri joins the Stringless does she discover what freedom truly means. Joseph Leach has released The Broken. When the paths of a broken Australian soldier and a cursed medieval village cross, the stage is set for a conflict with disastrous consequences for all involved, or just perhaps for healing and reconciliation that a few believed possible. Kerry Greenwood, author of the Phryne Fisher detective series, says of this book, a wonderfully clever book with a brilliant ending and inspiring characters. Sharon Rose is releasing Diverse Demands, the sequel to Diverse Similarity, on the 26th of December. She could use forbidden telepathy to prevent an alien war, but will her own people call her a hero or a criminal? Kenna, a lone human among aliens, forged a truce with her enemies by promising a controversial telepathic link with their future leader. They claim this is the foundation of lasting peace, but what are these obscure problems they now hide? Why is Tarkeen, her strongest supporter, suddenly missing? Will their future leader be executed before Kenna can reach her? When another human joins Kenna's crew, he creates as many problems for her as he solves. Dissension sparks among her allies. Despite his interference, Antony does have a form of wisdom, unwelcome though it is. Now her decision is that much harder. If Kenna succeeds in fulfilling her risky promise, will anything be left of her career? And what about her and Antony? And two new releases from Superversive Press. Operation Renfield by Stephen G. Johnson. Mick Murphy's an Irish half-elf from Manhattan. His best buddy Dave is a dwarf from Brooklyn. Together with a company of misfits, screwballs, and, well, trolls from the pit, they'll take on anything Austro-Hungaro-Romania, or for that matter hell itself, cares to throw at them. But behind the vampires, werewolves, and sky demons are the big boys, deep down in the pit of their own. The war won't end until GIs plant their boots on the devil's throne and kick him out. Working their way up to the biggest of D-Days is going to tax the United States Army to its utmost. But the dog faces on the line are one step ahead of the brass, because they're already halfway to hell. And Hard Moon, Book 1 in the Singularity Crisis by David Hallquist. When Brant Wills comes back to life in the caves of Luna, his problems have just begun. Once a renegade enforcer, now a lone survivor of forbidden research, he holds a secret within his blood with deadly consequences. Pursued by the mysterious singularity, he must fight for survival with only the mutant symbiote in his blood and an AI system on his side. And this one has a cool trailer with an original song. I'll link to it in the description. I've just started a podcast called Nerd Heaven, and you can find the episodes right here on this channel. I'll be doing episode by episode reviews and analysis of sci-fi and fantasy TV shows and movies, with an initial focus on Star Trek Picard. I'm currently counting down the Star Trek episodes and movies you should watch before Picard. Well, if that all doesn't give you plenty of ideas for Christmas presents, I don't know what will. Thanks for sticking with me for another year of geekery. Have a wonderful Christmas. Live long and prosper. God bless.